Hello. So today I wanted to talk a bit about internet censorship in Korea. This is something I never really expected to encounter when I came to Korea. Before coming, I had heard really a lot about how fast the internet is here. It's reportedly the fastest internet in the world, um, which is great for all those kids playing StarCraft and League of Legends. But I never really expected to encounter this, which is a shockingly common occurrence. Um, so, internet censorship is a pretty big deal here. According to a US based nonprofit, in 2013, government censors took down just shy of 23,000 Korean web pages and blocked access to 62,653 web pages from being seen by Korean internet users. So I believe that there are two real main reasons behind the internet censorship here. Um, first, the first is web pages, propaganda, and social media relating to the ongoing war with North Korea. I would consider this a defensive censorship. So in this, detailed maps of South Korea are censored from view outside of the country, outside of South Korea, lest they get into North Korean hands and inform future attacks on South Korea. And also, web pages that speak favorably or distribute propaganda pertaining to or supporting North Korea are also blocked, which is understandable. And there are also social media posts that are blocked or removed as they pertain to North Korea. And this aspect of censorship I don't really want to talk about or discuss because I don't feel I'm equipped to really talk about it. I don't really know the full story. So, the second of the two reasons of behind internet censorship in South Korea, I think, first being defensive, the second is a protective one. So, content relating to gambling, pornography, and prostitution, all three of which are illegal in South Korea, are blocked here. And the reason behind this is that the government kind of sees itself as a benevolent parent to its citizens, and it wants to protect them. So this is called paternalism, where the government or state acts in a manner that is paternal or fatherly, limiting the freedom of its citizens for their own good, for their own protection. Instead of the word paternalism, I tend to use the term parentalism, as informed by one of my favorite philosophy professors, because moms can also lay down the law, sometimes worse than fathers. So paternalism, which just refers to fathers, is a little bit more sexist than parentalism. And it's just slightly more accurate. So I'm going to use that. Anyways, so I'm going to focus on porn here. Because porn. So in Korea, pornographic websites, writing, books, films, magazines, pictures, and any other material are illegal. And a discussion of why sex theme parks and penis statue parks, dick statue parks are not considered pornographic might be fodder for another video, but I digress. Evidently, these laws are not really that strictly enforced, but that being said, the punishment for distributing pornographic materials can be up to 2 years in prison, so sort of serious business. And it turns out also that South Korea is the only OECD country to have blocked porn in its entirety. So that's interesting. Even going on YouTube can be difficult with the censorship. Where in North America, when you encounter a video that says it's age restricted, you can simply create an account and say that you're over the age of 18, and that gets you past that censorship. But if you're in Korea, and you are a Korean citizen, you must enter your citizen ID number, your government ID, in order to get past the censor. Or, for foreigners like myself, you have to fax in your passport and get to the government to get past the censor. It's a little too too high of a hoop to jump through. But there are also other ways, sneaky ways. So because of all this blockage, approximately, according to the Global Web Index's Q4 2014 report, around 10% of South Koreans use, or aged 16 to 64, use VPNs to access previously blocked websites. So that is 3.3 million people. And there are also other ways to find these sorts of materials that would otherwise be blocked. And apparently there's also a hilarious side to this censorship where words like specialist and wristwatch are blocked because they contain the words Cialis and twat, respectively. But I digress. So the general reason behind this blockage, I believe, is due to Korea's conservatism. They believe that the internet is a cesspool of degenerative filth worthy of cleansing. And while this is, an entirely valid point that I think most people would agree with, the internet is full of unspeakable horrors that you can't really ever unsee. I believe that if you dangle something tempting in front of someone just out of reach and tell them not to lunge for it, not to be tempted by it, one of the first things they're going to do is at least build up a temptation to do so. I think the same logic applies to drinking laws in North America. Who didn't underage drink, at least partially because of the thrill of getting away with something you weren't supposed to be doing? According to one article I poorly translated from Korean into English, the fear is that children will view these lewd acts being done on films by dirty, dirty foreigners in pornography and begin doing them themselves. To me, this moral panic kind of reminds me of the 1950s style reefer madness kind of panic where marijuana was being touted as this gateway drug into all these hard, horrible drugs and prostituting yourself and stuff like that. The same thing is happening here, where viewing pornography is kind of a gateway into kids, being fisted in an alley by a man in a giraffe costume. And while this type of slippery slope argument is fallacious at best, it could, I guess, kind of be a valid argument if the education were in place to arm the youth with the sexual knowledge that they need to get by in life. But if the sex education here is like sex education in a majority of the rest of the world, and from what I've heard from my Korean friends, it's a little bit lacking, these kids are going to need to start ordering their giraffe costumes pretty soon. I am all for protecting children, against the horrors of potentially scarring pornography that they're too young to understand. There is definitely an age or a maturity at which these things can be learned, and there's definitely a state before that. But when kids' only source for education on this, to sate this very, very human curiosity for sex, is a middle-aged man who giggles at the use of the word testicle and can't find the G-spot because the maps are blocked by government censors, then you leave these kids in kind of a precarious situation that I think does a lot more harm than good. So those are just kind of my thoughts on the matter. And I know that censorship can be a thorny topic, but I'm always for education over banning the discussion of something entirely. Those are my thoughts. Thanks for watching. Is due to Korea's conservatism to get past the censor, or for foreigners like myself. Okay. Oh, what?